Welcome back to His Voice. I'm honestly probably gonna just go up the list of topics that I already have and then kind of see how I do. Trying to mentally give myself ideas to just kind of touch on before I just dive into it blindly. But for this video itself, I want to talk about being kind to yourself and others. But there is a main key part in this video that I just want to touch on more than anything else. But I'll quickly get the be kind to yourself part of the way. And to kind of put like a little side note on this as well, it's like do all of that with no buts, because it's very easy to want to do something or look at yourself as such or someone else as such, but then put a but to it to just kind of override the whole thing. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. You don't have to think that you have a nice day today, but you gotta take care of this one thing. No, you can just have a nice day today. Leave it at that. Don't think about the things that are just gonna overturn the positivity or this and that. The buts don't have to be any buts. No buts. But strictly with being kind to yourself is be patient, be gentle, be understanding with yourself, be fair to yourself. Don't hold things against yourself the same way that you don't want to hold things against other people. Don't label yourself for as such. Don't do anything that's gonna restrict you from your personal growth and from allowing yourself to kind of project the image that you should be projecting. Don't look at yourself as something that can't be repaired, something that can't be rebranded, something that can't be added upon, or at least have something removed as well. If something that's negative, don't look at yourself as something that can't be worked out, changed, shifted, adjusted. There's a lot of ways you can make someone. There's a lot of ways you can look at someone. But knowing that there's always an alternative that can add more good than bad, go with that alternative. Don't feel like you are restricted to such things that were very temporary, or you in a past tense, you in a version of yourself that just wasn't really all the way there. And even if someone else or other people do that to you, it's not something that you should be doing to yourself. And to add is that same way, it's like you don't want to do that to other people because you wouldn't want them to do that to you, and you also wouldn't want yourself to be doing that to yourself. Excuse me. And then you don't want to fuel someone doing that to themselves. If you know the reason that you feel dormant or in a state of limbo because a lot of people have told you one thing and that kind of stuck with you, don't be the reason that something sticks with somebody else. That's not fair to them. But the primary piece of the video I want to touch on mainly is men and women being pinned up against each other. And I only say that because this is something that just becomes the most frequent talking point this day to day. Whether I'm talking to my own friends, or I'm talking to people I don't know, or just meeting people really quickly and kind of seeing their ideologies and viewpoints on the opposite gender or something as if they didn't exist in the first place. And what I mean by that is because they say things that shouldn't be so normal to think on a day-to-day basis, and some of it, yes, some of it has its place, some of it has its reasons that make perfect sense. Others, on the other hand, in my opinion, I would tell you no, personally. And the reason I would mainly tell you no is simply because it's either some double standard thing, it's petty, or it's minimally fueled reasons as to why they believe something. Mainly because, like, let's say they only interacted with that strict group of people on a few accounts, and now that just kind of changed their whole perspective of the entirety as is, as one. It's not fair to those other people because you're trying to judge them off of the few interactions that you've had. On top of that, regardless of what you think, you still have to engage and interact with that gender every single day. So why would it be fair to have this pre-assumption of who we're going to be talking to because you've met maybe one or two people that were like that, because you feel like despite how they could project themselves to you, that's who they are deep down, when maybe that just might not be the case. On top of that, you would not want them to be doing that to you. So why do you feel like it's fair to do that to them? But it's a long talking point. But like I said, just overall, whether it goes for men, whether it goes for women, it's just regardless of whatever ideology that you have, whatever that you think, because you've experienced A, B, C, because you've been experienced a harsh like whatever the case may be, because you had something go wrong in your life with that person, and you just think, okay, this is how one person is, this is how two people were, this is how they must all be. It's not fair, because you know deep down that's not how they all are. In regards to whether that is the case or not, you still have to engage with them. So why would you not try to at least either instill better action in them, or at least allow yourself to develop a more positive way of thinking, that so that you don't feel whatever it is you feel when you have to engage with them. Because I can assure you, I've had my experiences with women. Not all good ones, of course. I've had women tell me stories that would make anyone look at them crazy, but it's not my place to judge. It's not my place to assume any much more because of what they told me. It's not my fear. It's not place to allow what they've told me to stick to other women, allow what they've done to me to stick to other women. It's not fair to do that. And vice versa. It's not fair to do that to men, because based on what you've seen, because of what you heard, because of what you felt, because of where you've been in. And like I said, some of it does apply. Some of it does truthfully apply, and it's fear, because those things are very negative, and to be fair, they are common. Maybe not in your life. So if my thing is, often if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But even then, it's like you can't always let it fly, because even then, like, you're not addressing me and you're not talking about me, but you're still making comments about something that pertains to me, essentially. If you were to say something about like my group of friends, you're not saying it about me per se, but those are still people I associate with. So by association, you still have me in this picture. And for people that's like, I hate all men, it's like it's always hard for you to say that and then not be talking about the men around you. You can't just make exceptions. You can't just exclude people, because your statement includes all. All isn't just a group of people, majority of people, some people, minority of people. It isn't that. It's everyone. So if you want to be more specific and more direct, then you should be directing towards that group. That's the biggest piece, at least I get annoyed with, is because I feel like if I'm at least making a comment, I'm gonna make sure it only addresses who it applies to. It shouldn't have to address everyone simply because I think it applies to everyone, because that's not fair to everyone. I don't want that person to feel like that's who they are based on the way I was treated, and I wouldn't want that person to be treated any differently because of how I was treated. It shouldn't work like that. And the reasons I said before, whether it's pettiness, double standards, or minimally fueled experiences and reasons. For starters, I obviously already kind of went over the minimally fueled part, because most of the time you've only actually encountered that maybe on a few occasions. And those few occasions cannot define everyone, because I guarantee you, if you were to go across like 10 people, that might only occur maybe like 30% of the time. So those 3 people that you experience with wouldn't even happen with the next 7, possibly. But even then, 10 isn't even enough to get the full picture. Could just be at 10, but more so to the petty part. Petty part more so comes from the aftermath. It comes from those experiences taking place and this feeling as though I need to carry out this vendetta, I need to carry out this hatred on a more direct level, more heightened level, and not let it just take place in this scenario, in this situation, but much rather let it be known that this person did that, and that must mean everyone's like that. Because this person can do that, I can't put it past nobody. And it's fair to say that you can't put it past some, or if you want to have your guard up for everyone, that's fair, but don't have your guard up and then push it at people. Don't have your shit up and then start to bash people with it because you feel as though you haven't done enough damage, that you can not only protect yourself, but you must harm people as well. You must hurt the image of others while you try to keep your image perfectly painted. It's not fair to do. It's not fair to do for them. And why would you want to do that as well? Because at some point you're gonna lose that guard. The more you hit people, you're gonna lose that guard. The more you feel as though you can be on the offensive and the defensive at the same time. And even then, it's like, just because you've had a situation that happened to you, You still have to be just about it. You still have to be rational about it. You still have to be fair about it. I would hate to have something happen to me and then believe that, oh, because that happened, it must be the same way for everyone. Now, don't get me wrong, it definitely does take its toll, and it definitely does kind of skew the images up a little bit and make you feel as though, okay, this has to be way more prominent than anything else, because there's just no way that this is something I've really seen and happened on so many accounts. And I'm supposed to assume that that's not normal for them. I can't put it past anyone. But at the same time, there's just so many people that, why would you want to hold that against everyone? Like, why would you want to do that? And then the double standard part is what really gets to the most, because now it's just like, you also play a role in this, despite what you think that about the opposite sex. So for you to also have your toes dipped inside of this, how are you to judge someone else for maybe having their whole foot in? You still play your part too. You still do you still do the thing that you do, and you still partake in the action that you act, right? So what makes you any different? What makes you feel as though you are the voice to speak out and be like, yeah, don't do that. You're wrong. You're foul. But then you're going to do it too. This is something I'll definitely just touch up on more so in the future, and probably just give it its own dedicated video if I feel like enough more can be said. I just think the biggest picture I'm just trying to paint here is that you don't have to be pinned up against one another, knowing exactly that you're going to interact with them by tomorrow, by the following day, within the same year. Like, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you're still going to be with that person or interact with that person. So what's the point of trying to hate them all your life, or even knowing that your own dinner is no better than that person? I'll just treat each other all equally and then go as such, despite whatever pre-existing ideas that you have. But the biggest things that, like I said, aside from the double standard, before I even get into that, the biggest thing that irritates me as well when you kind of like think about it is, picture yourself or picture that person giving that same ideas to your child. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have to, you have to paint this picture of like, oh, this gender is like perfect. You don't have to expect anything from them. No, you could still tell them things with a bit of grain of salt, but I guarantee you would not want to be telling your daughter, oh, like, men are nothing, like they're trash. Do not pin on them. Don't allow anyone to make you think that they can provide anything for you because they can't. They can't do this. They can't do that. Blah blah. Like, be this, be that. Right. And I mean, you could push independence. That's fine, but don't make it feel like they can only rely on themselves, or think that women are the only ones capable of giving them anything, when the whole opposite gender is also there and can and is capable of providing for them, and vice versa. That's what I mean. Like, don't try to paint this picture of you can do everything when you can't. You don't have to. Not just for women, but like for men too. It's like, you don't have to do everything. It's not all on you. But that's what we feel in some of these certain circumstances. We feel as though we aren't able to depend on that sex. We aren't able to depend on that woman, that man, that whoever the case, whoever's in the situation. We feel as though we cannot depend on them, and that they may have done us the worst way possible. And just because of that situation alone, we have to paint this ongoing image of this whole entirety is tainted. But who agreed that it had to be everyone? Why couldn't it just be that one person that you experienced that with? And that's it. That one person that was foul, because they're foul, you have the proof that they're like that. You don't have that same proof. You don't have that same evidence for everyone. And then on the double standards part, it's like, for example, the biggest double standard, obvious, body count. Pointless, very pointless. Because the same men that know that they have their numbers high, with the same men that don't want a woman as high. And I understand it though. Like, as much as it should be 50-50, it's never going to be 50-50. But the least it could be is 45-55. But honestly, it's more like a 75-25 for being generous. Really, like maybe 80-20. And it kind of naturally makes sense, because we do often look at women as a prize. But at least on my part, more specifically, I look at like your body being not only very special and like a temple, but like just something that you shouldn't allow a lot of people to have access to. Especially knowing that that person wasn't special enough to make you feel any kind of way, and wasn't gonna be anything past the get up And not that it kind of diminishes the value of yourself, because it doesn't do that. But it's something that should be valued, and the more times that it's done makes it feel as though you don't value it as much. And that kind of makes you look that differently and makes someone value you less because they feel as though you didn't value yourself if that's how you get down most of the time. At least that's how I was looking at it. I don't think it really determines what someone's value is because someone can still be a valuable person with a high number. It's just more so it's like you could have seen yourself as that a lot sooner, and that could have saved you having to go through that with so many people because you don't want to have gone through that with so many people, knowing that you're gonna regret that later on. And most people do. Most people with anything higher than five can at least promise you there's at least one person that they regret it, and they don't have to regret it. We do stuff all the time. We make mistakes. We live. We learn. So it's not something that you have to look back on and be like, "Oh, I wish I didn't have that." But it's like at the same time, you don't want to look at that number and wish it was what it is because you want someone to feel special about being with you without thinking that they're the 20th, without thinking that they're the ninth, without thinking that they're whatever number isn't gonna make them happy. But that's not just about the women's part. It's about the men's part too because you can't expect yourself to have a dozen or however much as a guy and then think that you now deserve someone that doesn't have any, or knowing that you have the number that you have and it makes someone feel comfortable enough with you to where you're there first. That's messed up on a lot of different levels. But then you're gonna have that same experience. You're gonna have done what you've done and then think that it's okay to bash the opposite sex for doing the same thing. It makes zero sense. My point is exactly just it's not something that you can look at and be like, well, yeah, I'm right. No, you're not right. It's a double standard to have to be doing something or should have done something and then not think that's okay for them, but think it's okay for you. Just not how it works. Um, or even then, it's like it's not okay to claim to hate something that you're gonna interact with all the time, or like I said, crowd judge. It's not okay to just crowd judge because you've experienced a few things. I'm not just gonna talk in circles because I'm pretty sure you guys already get the idea at this point. But like I said, it's essentially just be kind to yourself, be kind to other people. That's it. It's really nothing more to that. But that'll be all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.